one of the things to be learned from the Kelly system is when you're doing things, it doesn't matter if you're sports better or something else, but investing in the stock market, taking a risk on starting a business. The lesson to be learned from the Kelly system is to never double down. I mean, maybe you'll see something if you're starting a business and see a great opportunity. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about um, the everyday give and take of whatever it is that you're doing. Don't think of doubling down as a good overall strategy. Maybe every now and then, like I say, you might see something that nobody else is seeing. Well, then it becomes a different story. So that's one lesson. Another lesson to be learned from everyday life is to realize that randomness plays a huge role in just about everything. So you can look at the success stories of people in business have nothing to do with gambling per se, and you'll see that they were constantly having to make decisions based on uncertainty, and uncertainty means, from their point of view, that there's randomness, and that, we live in a world of randomness. We don't see a lot of it because some things are so unlikely that they never happen, but they're still random. For instance, let me give you an example. This is a little sidetrack, but let's say you have a box with 80 balls in it, and 20 of them are marked, and you pick 20 of them that you think are going to be the winners. And the person who's running the game picks 20 winning balls. It's a lottery. So 20 winning numbers are drawn by whoever's running the game or by a machine. And you have bought a ticket with 20 numbers on it. If all 20 of your numbers are the winning numbers, you win. You win the jackpot. And that's it. That's the game. Unfortunately, the chance of winning that particular lottery, even though it sounds easy, is so low that you're never going to win. The chance is about 1 in 3.5 quintillion. That's many, many hundreds of times worse than any lottery that we know of. This is not a real lottery. And in fact, if everybody on Earth buys a ticket to this lottery, on average, there will be no winners for the next 100,000 years. And so what's my point? My point is there's randomness. So in this particular game, there's randomness, but you're never going to see it. All you're going to see is the same thing over and over. That is everybody losing. But that's true for everybody winning too. So my point is that we live in a world of uncertainty, and anybody who thinks otherwise is deluding themselves. But anyone who thinks that means that you're going to be ruined by randomness is wrong, because skill can overcome randomness, but you have to realize that things aren't going to happen exactly the way you want them every day. Things are going to go up and down and up and down, and you shouldn't be deterred by that. The randomness part of your life, as I said at the beginning, you can eliminate some bad habits and then do the things that you want to do, that you think you are skilled at. The only person who can decide that is you, and the input you get when you do these things, and just keep going. Change course if you need to, but not to get thrown off by unlucky losses just due to chance, and as a result, not to double down, so to speak. That might sound simplistic, but that's sort of a basic principle.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I mean, it leads me to kind of almost a follow-up here. I think a large majority of our audience would call themselves men of faith. We're a Christian-based organization. Believer in it myself. I'm not directly asking you, what your belief in relationship with God, or if you have any concept there. But sometimes it's like, I think believers in general, struggle with it's all in God's hands. So when I hear you speak of randomness, it's like, how can a man of faith or one that's trying to walk with God reconcile this acceptance of all this randomness that we're speaking in terms of his walk of relationship with God? I'm not sure if the question is making sense here.
Well, okay, so here's an example. Look at Deion Sanders. So he's, one of the great football players of his generation. And I used to, watch him play on the Cowboys, and when the Cowboys were winning Super Bowls and so, he was a magnificent football player. But look at him now. He's a coach of Colorado, and look what's happened to him. He had blood clot problems. He had toes amputated. He recently, in the last 6 months or so, was diagnosed with bladder cancer. He had his bladder completely removed, and a section of his intestine was put in place of his bladder. And he's still coaching, and he's still talking about how lucky he is. Well, I mean, how? And it because of his religion. And I'm not talking about one religion or another. He's just a spiritual guy. And I mean, that's if you want a lesson in spirituality, look at Deion Sanders. And he's still coaching. I mean, most people, I would say 95% of people would have retired after getting this horrible, aggressive bladder cancer and having his bladder removed. Now, look what he's done. He has he has to wear Depends because he doesn't have control of his bladder. He had a Depends advertisement put on the sideline for his games. I mean, and he keeps talking about how God has allowed him to coach. And I mean, other people would say the opposite. But that's, if you want an example of spirituality, I say look at Deion Sanders and you'll learn a lot.
Well, it's a gratitude. And I think it's understanding with all the possible lotteries out there that we can have real no luck at ever winning. We won the ultimate lottery, the minute that we were conceived. I don't know what the probability, I think it's like 1 in 420 million of like a human being born a human, right? So it's like, there you go. Like if you want to be grateful and, say you've already won the lottery, it's like the fact that you're here and listening to this would be a great way to start the day every day.
Right. And that's what I've heard many times. And I believe in that we're lucky to be here. We're lucky to be alive, and we should make the best of it.
Yeah. What are some practical tools or applications of this for the guy out there that is listening and maybe wants to take some of these concepts that we're speaking, like, and apply them to his decision-making in life? Like, are there certain apps available? Are there tools, Excel spreadsheets, formulas? I mean, obviously pick up the book, read it, learn some of these things yourself, but like, what are some everyday applicable tools that men can use to weigh the luck or variance in their favor?
So people, so there are different levels of this. Some people just base it on their intuition. Some people analyze data or hire people to analyze data for them. You gave me a little plug from my book, The Story of Chance Beyond the Margin of Error. I go into some of those things. I talk about chance versus skill. And I think you should, one of the things that I advocate is to find areas where you can be skillful and to just do it 100% all the time, and don't let some losses throw you off. So try to find things that employ your particular skill set. Everybody has a skill set, and try to take advantage of that, and to sort of stay within your own guidelines, stay on the rails, as they say, and not take huge risks, which can sort of mean, even if you're not doing it mathematically, follow the Kelly system idea of not doubling down on things where you're doing it over and over again. So that's another thing about randomness and about doing things in general, whether they're skill or chance, and that is, what happens if you do the same thing over and over again? So people often sort of mistakenly look at just what happens to me if I do one play of the game, whatever game you're in. But in fact, success or failure is going to depend on doing things over and over again and being persistent. And there are mathematical laws, like the law of averages, which generally usually applies to chance things, but still that applies to skill as well, because if you're skillful in doing something over and over again, you're going to succeed. So I would say that's another life lesson, and that is not to think of things as one-shot deals, to be in it for the long run, and to um, take advantage of your skill set and to have confidence. It's not like playing craps where it doesn't matter what you do. Do something where it does matter what you do, and do it for the long run. Don't do it um, today and then tomorrow decide to do something else.